Is it top 5 or bust for Manchester United, Kaveh?
I think it's really important for them to get in the Champions League. Financially, of course, they need the cash injection that they would get from being in the Champions League. But I think there are deeper structural problems at United. I think Michael Carrick, fantastic player, but the bottom line is United are kicking the can down the road. We're going to be in this situation again in the summer, where if you're a United fan, you are going to have to put your faith and trust in Ineos, who are running the club at the moment, picking the right person to be the new manager. It's another wasted season, and it's sad to see a club as big as Manchester United, unless you're a Manchester City fan or a Liverpool fan
or a Leeds fan
or a Chelsea fan, going through what they're going through at the moment. But it's been going on for a long time. I've said it before. I personally think it doesn't matter who's in charge, who's the manager, who's the head coach, who's the interim head coach. I've been saying it for 20 years and I'm bored of saying it. The problems at Manchester United are to do with the ownership model at the club. Personally, I think unless that changes, nothing is going to change.
We were talking off camera about what happens if Man United get in the top 5, about the interim role, but on the website, he's named head coach until the end of the season. There's no word of interim, is there? And if he were to get in the Champions League, he'd have a great case to stay. He'd have a great case to stay.
Yeah, it's interesting, that.
But I've never known a club with so...
But that might be semantics. Head coach until the end of the season is effectively interim head coach, but we can argue about that. Rob Dorset said, Jason Wilcox, he led the search, he said. Kaveh, I put it to you that in his role, he shouldn't have to lead any search because he should have had someone in place already.
And also, you know, I think your question is a little bit loaded because, you know, how much of a search is it that you end up with it either being Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Michael Carrick, without being disrespectful to either of those two players who were absolutely incredible players for Manchester United. But you would think a club as big as Manchester United would have a contingency plan. They would have a plan B. Chelsea, when Enzo Maresca left, we all knew that Liam Rosenior was going to get that job. What was the contingency plan at Manchester United for the manager leaving, for Ruben Amorim leaving? Was it to turn to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Michael Carrick? Most people would say that's not a particularly detailed, well thought through plan. I think, you know, the situation with Michael Carrick reminds me a little bit of the situation when Frank Lampard went back to Chelsea. You know, a legendary figure going back as a manager until the end of the season. It could go one of two ways. You know, either Carrick could be successful, get them into the Champions League, get the job full time, or it could be what happened under Frank Lampard, where he went back and afterwards he turned around and said, what I found at that club was not what I expected. There were big problems at that club. I couldn't recognise it from the club where I played. So it could go one or two ways. Turning to an ex-player doesn't always work out. And sometimes the problems are far too big for an ex-player to fix. Certainly an ex-player who's only got the job on an interim basis until the end of the season.
Giggs, Carrick, Van Nistelrooy, Solskjaer, Carrick again. I've never known so many ex-players have so many interim roles. But is it just the Man United factor? I mean, the cameras and the directors can't help but see Alex Ferguson clapping every time they're at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I'll give you an ex-player for you. Xabi Alonso. Could he, now he's available, maybe go to somewhere where he's played before?